Strum is, Commissioner Strum is Mr. P here? Yeah.
No, he won't be here till tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, we're not worried about that today.
So
Okay.
Saturday at noon.
Saturday at
Tomorrow
noon.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's go ahead and move forward then. We'll do one more. Commission General, this is item 8B. Commission General Regulation 402, LCD file number R055-11. Bighorn Chief and Swan changes to NAC 502.345. Game Division Chief Gilbertson and Wildlife Staff Specialist Mike Cox. The Commission will consider and may take action to adopt proposed changes to provisions pertaining to miscellaneous requirements related to bighorn sheep hunting, including elimination of mandatory indoctrination requirements, elimination of mandatory possession of certain optics while hunting bighorn sheep, plugging of skull horns of harvested bighorn sheep, removing or altering the seal, plug, or branded identification number once permanently attached, elimination of provision to notify the department upon transfer of ownership of the bighorn skull, and changes to Swan permit eligibility to allow youth and senior hunter access to permits consistent with state and federal waterfowl migratory license and stamp requirements. Chief Gilbertson.
Thank you, Chairman Macbeth. That was a great outline for this first of 3 CGRs that we're bringing forward that have game division implications. This has been a joint effort of game division, law enforcement, and of course Maureen. We bring these up every few years to try to streamline some of them and get them working. The history on this one, basically law enforcement started looking at the provision number 6 that had to do with the magnification of, they have to have 5-power binoculars at least, or a spotting scope with you. And basically the history of this regulation, it goes back to the turn of the century when bighorn sheep were not very numerous. And as surveys and other methods, including having hunts to find out about how many bighorn were out in places, we had to come up with regulations. And throughout the West, they were pretty restrictive for the requirements for hunting bighorn sheep. There were various rules and regulations around the West, including things like full curl requirements, 3/4 curl requirements, and we had, Nevada finally adopted a 7 years old or 144 Boone and Crockett points. So obviously, how is a hunter going to know if he's shooting a 7-year-old or 144 points? So we evolved and came up with a hunter indoctrination so that we could give the sportsmen the tools they need to go out there and make those decisions in the field. Over time, as we've increased our management scenarios for everything we do for bighorn sheep, including intensive surveys, a tremendous trapping and transplanting program. It's one of the biggest success stories in the entire West, because Nevada now has more bighorn sheep than any other state. And through all of this hard work and the cooperation with all of our sportsmen and our sportsmen's groups, we've got just a tremendous bighorn program at the current time. And in the mid-1990s, when we went to any ram, we no longer needed hunters to know exactly how to figure out if something was 7 years old or 144 points. And at that time, we committed to continue with our indoctrinations, to monitor the effects of that change on the hunt and the quality of the hunt and so forth, and we've done that. And so we're in this CGR, we're recommending a change to make the hunter indoctrination not mandatory, but rather we'll have it be voluntary. We continue to carry it on. It's in our recommendations tomorrow. You'll see that we have the indoctrination still set up. And one of my supervising biologists reminded me just recently that he's almost got 30 years in, and during his career, he's seen the hunter indoctrination evolve. And it was because of the going to any ram and so forth. It's actually evolved to now we're trying to give hunters the tools they need to go hunt sheep, find sheep, and enjoy their hunt. And it's a two-way exchange. We're using it now to ask them to watch for various things out there and help us manage bighorn sheep. if we're going to hand out packets to collect biological samples and those types of things, to watch for disease outbreaks. So it's a two-way exchange. It's still a very important thing. But just like anything that we are hoping is going to serve a certain purpose, we'll find individuals have really a lot of trouble making the requirement and getting to the indoctrination. And a lot of these people have really good excuses. I mean, we have several indoctrinations, and we'll have people that have deaths in the family, accidents. Get on a plane, the flight's canceled or it's grounded. There's a lot of different reasons why, legitimate reasons why people don't make indoctrination sometimes. And we've had situations where they've switched from one indoctrination to another. And we've actually, in one case, we've had to drive a tag across the state to get the tag there. So one of the difficulties we experience is the handling of the tags for this process. And so we'd really like to make it easier for our constituents and the bighorn hunters out there to be able to get their tag. But we still want to offer the indoctrination. We still want that interaction and exchange. And we'd go a step further. We'd like to put it on our website so that they would have an additional place to access the indoctrination. So along with that, the 5-power magnification thing, that was also goes back to the old days. If you all remember back in the 60s. Not everybody even had binoculars back then, but pretty much everybody, most manufacturers, they were all 6-power or bigger. So the idea was, we wanted to not have those little opera glasses that were 4-power or something. We wanted people to actually have at least a decent pair of binoculars. So that's where that came from. And everybody we check nowadays has, the best optics you can imagine. So that's no longer an issue. And law enforcement actually was suggesting, that they didn't want to have to be out there checking people's binoculars. So the other thing law enforcement added in here was clarifying the horns, the sealing process. We do it, but they actually wanted it to state that we will plug the seal into the horn and then make it unlawful to alter or remove that seal after it's permanently attached, or to alter or remove the permanently branded identification. We used to brand them back in the 80s, but now we just use a seal where we drill and put it in. So that's clarifying that, what we actually already do. And this is a kind of a long regulation. It gets into swans next. And basically with swans, we were just trying to make the regulation match what all of our other regulations and requirements for obtaining a swan tag. And I think Maureen wanted to make a clarification on this one.
In Section 2, Subsection 2A, where the new language is listed, can you hear me? Where it says, unless the person is under the age of 12 years, we need to add language in there. It says to read, unless the person is a resident and under the age of 12 years. Our licensing requirements for non-residents is any age. There's no minimum age. So, because this whole section deals with what it has to be carried in the field, it's only the resident license that if they're going to be hunting migratory birds, if they're under 12, they don't have to have a license. So if they're under, 18 as a non-resident, they're still going to have a license regardless. There's no under 12 or whatever. It's any age for the hunting license. So we have to make that clarification there so that we're consistent with our licensing laws. So it should read, unless the person is a resident and under the age of 12 years. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
Okay, and Mike Cox has pretty much dealt with the Bighorn regulations throughout his whole career, so if people have questions or anything, we can hopefully handle those.
I might also comment. I like to go out and watch the sheep get measured occasionally and interact with the constituents. And one of the first ones this year, the first question Mike asked is, well, which way are you going to turn the head when you have it mounted? And I thought to myself, that's not a decision I'd want to have to make right then and there, because we put this god-awful plug in it. it's the size of a nickel. So I'm going to talk to staff, and I'm going to try to find another way to plug that so that it's not so. If you had to turn it because your cape was too short on one side, you had to turn it towards the plug. So we're going to look at some other ways to be able to permanently mark these things that's going to be more user-friendly.
Okay. Guess I'll bring it back to the commission. Any commissioners have any comments with regard to the regulation? I guess I know that at the Clark County Advisory Board, there's some major concerns about one aspect of this, and that is the mandatory versus the voluntary indoctrination class. And I'll just mention that, and because I know, and when I go to public comment, that I'm going to get some comments on this, and so they can elaborate on that, I'm sure. But anyway, I do want to acknowledge that at the County Advisory Board meeting that the sportsmen of Southern Nevada aren't in agreement with that aspect of the regulation. I'm not sure about all the rest of it. I think the rest of it, I think they were pretty much okay with, especially the optics piece. But anyway, any other commissioners then?
I have a question for Mike. Since we went to any legal RAM, have we seen any reduction in age class or size?
Mike Cox became staff biologist. Yeah, for the first few years, post 95, when it was changed from the restricted to any legal RAM, we did see a slight drop, but then it picked up around 99, 2000, and we've been holding steady and slightly growing in average age, 6.4, 6.5. The scores have gone up, and that could be attributed to a lot of things, but it has been going up slightly or stable statewide, and there's a lot of variation among unit groups.
Okay, anybody else have any questions on the commission? Okay, then I'll go ahead and put this one out for public comment, and it looks like we have some cards. Go ahead, Vice Chairman.
I have one card on this, Clint Bentley.
Clint.
For the record, Clint Bentley, Henderson, Nevada. I'm speaking on my own behalf. I am actually totally surprised that NDOW would even consider eliminating one of the best and most appreciated PR programs that it has. To eliminate the mandatory would not basically decrease time spent by the biologist to present whether it's voluntary or mandatory. And over the years, I have had the interaction with numerous attendees of this program, and all of them, none of them have said that it was a waste of time and that they wish they hadn't had to go. All of them have commented what a great program it was and how much they've learned and benefited from the indoctrination. If changed to a voluntary, the non-attendees are going to be the very attendees that should have been attending the program, and as a result, what we will benefit from that is a decrease, have a lower harvest percentage, and a larger percent of unsatisfied hunters, which translates back to another bad PR on the most successful sheep management program in the United States. In closing, I just happened to have dinner last night with a few friends of mine. One of them was a non-resident, one was a resident. They happen to have both have attended these programs. They've both drawn tags over the years, and I made the comment that I was going to be here today to testify on this particular issue, and they both looked at me in shock. They couldn't believe that this was even being addressed because of what a great program it is and what they learned at it and the benefits that they got off of it. That's all that I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Oh, okay. Paul, come on up, Paul.
Thank you, gentlemen. Paul Harris on behalf of the Fraternity of Desert Bighorn. The Fraternity of Desert Bighorn, our board of directors, did meet and discuss this item, and we had quite a bit of conversation about this, and we are in support of keeping the class as a mandatory class. I'll share one quick comment with you, and it comes from one of our board members, Eddie Pribble, and I would say arguably Eddie Pribble has probably been involved in more sheep harvest in this state than probably any other person in this state, and his comment was he had never been involved with a hunter when he was a guide, nor any hunter that he's hunted, that he's helped just as a friend or an acquaintance that has ever complained about the class or had any. They've always had great comments to say about the class, and we'd like to see it stay mandatory. I mean, some of the comments that Mr. Bentley made, we think it's a great PR. I can tell you, I've been involved where hunters have been out for a week solid in the McCulloughs and were not able to locate a sheep. Now, that's pretty hard to do. You can almost hit one with a truck in the McCulloughs if you drive around there for a week. But they were deer hunters, and they didn't know how to glass for sheep. And those folks need help. They need the assistance of that class. And if those guys are not going to an indoctrination class, I mean, I agree with the Department of Wildlife that people are busy, but if you make this class non-mandatory, we feel a lot of people are going to, the participation is going to fall off. I have spoken with the biologist here, Pat, and I have told him that he's got my guarantee the fraternity will be a lot more involved with those classes and help them to be involved and actually help maybe do after the class to take people out in the field on a field trip to actually view sheep, up close and personal and glass them. So we're going to do our part to try and help the department make these classes an even bigger success and be involved. But I think the biggest issue is people who draw tag and are non-sheep hunters. They don't know what they're up against, and they need that class and they need that interaction. And I've been to the classes and seen the hunters in the same unit will trade phone numbers and cell numbers, and they end up helping each other, and it turns out to be the hunters have a better experience. So we're in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Any further public comment? Come on up, Rex.
For the record, Rex Flowers, Washoe County. Our board voted 2-1 to support the regulation as it is. The one dissenting vote was they wanted to see the indoctrination classes stay mandatory. I was not at the meeting, but in reading our meeting minutes, there were a lot of people that were kind of concerned to the point that they wanted to see at least the department was going to have a voluntary indoctrination course. Now, that being said, as a member of the Washoe County CAP, personally, I want to tell you that myself, I feel it should stay as a mandatory class. No, you haven't seen any decline since you went to any RAM, but you've had a mandatory class. When you go to a voluntary class, will you maintain that? Will people take the easy way out and say, I can handle this, I know what I'm doing, and get disgruntled when they get out there and say, okay, there's a sheep, I'm running out of time, I'm going to take it. I think it really the program has lended itself to keeping up on keeping quality harvest going. So, thank you.
Thanks, Rex. Any other public comment? Mr. Johnson.
Larry Johnson, Nevada Bighorns Unlimited, Reno. And our board, quite frankly, like Washoe County Citizens Advisor, or the CAB, has kind of mixed emotions on this. Informed hunters, quite frankly, have a much better experience, and that indoctrination course has been invaluable in educating the hunting public as to the biology the age classifications, size, scoring, habits of bighorn sheep. I think probably our feelings are probably best summarized by, if the mandatory indoctrination is to be eliminated, we strongly suggest that additional educational information be included in the tag packet, such as a DVD that has the complete indoctrination course. We recognize the difficulty in some people around the state attending mandatory classes, recognize that, see the value in the mandatory class, but at the same time, if it is to be eliminated, it should be made up for with, we feel, a DVD with that class, so that they can receive that education. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Any other public comment? Okay, then I guess I'll bring it back. Any further comment from the commission after hearing public comment? I guess I'd just ask one question, and that would be is that if, to deal with the issue of people for whatever really good and legitimate reasons, well, let me ask a question first. If we have, under this mandatory rule that we currently have, if a person does not make the class, what happens? I mean, that means that they can't hunt, right? Unless they maybe get a guide that has been to the class and something along those lines. So let's maybe discuss that.
Mike Cox, and yes, that's the bottom line, is that tag is not issued if he does not attend. And you can't hunt without a tag. So,
are you aware of any tags in the last 15 years that were not used because somebody was unable to make the mandatory class?
Yes.
Commissioner McNish.
Has there been discussion on online courses?
Yes. We brought it up in some discussions with some of the Bighorn support groups here in the state. We value their input, and we have a ton of respect for them. Larry, and Clint, and Paul, and all the others that are behind their organizations. And that there are certainly some options. And the one thing I wanted to maybe clarify is, we're not eliminating the indoctrination. Myself, that helps put some of the new slides together, to the biologists that are there giving the indoctrination. We take great pride in that product, and having the ability for our sportsmen to learn some things. We're not guides, and I appreciate the vote of confidence that our indoctrination has made or supported this great program. There's certainly a lot more than just that class that teaches a person to sheep hunt and appreciate the program we have. But we're still going to give it, regardless of whatever we call in front of it, whether it's mandatory or voluntary. One of the things we see in our program is there's so many other challenges that, with our limited staff, we've got a lot of problems out there on the landscape, and it's tough to do everything. And if I can add maybe a compromising point to this portion of the regulation, is we are biologists, but in this instance we're being asked to be licensed agents or to be a contractor to deal with these tags. And in the regulation it states that the tag will be issued upon attendance to the indoctrination class. One of the things that would take a lot of time and effort off our hands and put it back to where we think it should sit, which is Wildlife Administrative Services Office gets paid good money to deal with the draw, and make sure those tags are mailed out. Those physical tags are mailed out. We could possibly have, if we keep it mandatory, maybe we just have a single piece of paper that it's a certificate of attendance that we hand to everyone who's physically there, and then we don't have to mess with the tags. It's a big responsibility on our part, track those and to deal with those, and we feel like there's really no reason that they can't be issued along with all the other tags. There's certainly a lot of record keeping we have to do to track those who've attended and who haven't. We'd still have to do that, but not having to deal with the tags would be a little bit less on our plate, so we can focus on some really big issues that are challenging our bighorn herds.
Mike, before you get down, I'm sure you've heard it also in the past. You just spoke about the certificate of attendance option. I know of people that have been to 4 or 5 classes because their buddies have a hunt, and the year they draw the tag, they have a hard time getting there. And so they've been to the class multiple times, but they have no proof they were there. So I like your certificate of attendance idea, and maybe expand it to other people who show up if we go that way.
Well, yeah, we've been changing our venue. Well, it's been pretty solidified in most of our sites, but we do get a lot of extra people. And if everyone heard that they could take it now and not have to worry about it later, we might overfill the room. We've never really turned anyone away if somebody brings in 4 or 5 people with him and he's the only tag holder. But currently, up till now, if you attend as a guest, we do not recognize your attendance of that indoctrination because it's based on the tag. So I guess that would be a little bit of a gray area.
Commissioner Raines?
Could you give us your top couple examples of situations in which it was extremely hard upon the individuals to make the classes, or that they couldn't make the classes? I'm sure you've got a couple. There's some examples. Larry gave a couple. What do you got?
I don't have any on top of my head.
Bad calls.
Maureen Heiner, Nevada Department of Wildlife. Yes, I get those calls, or Julie does, or Wildlife Administrative Services does, and they refer them to us. Larry hit a number of them. We've had people with flight issues if they're a non-resident. We've had people with deaths in the family. We've had illnesses where they can't make the indoctrination, but they're going to definitely be healthy enough at the time of the season. So I don't know what the compromise in the situation is. I know you're going to be looking at the indoctrination dates. If there's an opportunity to not restrict us to those dates, if we can provide relief in those circumstances for people as an option down the road, if that is considered to keep it mandatory. But we've heard everything from they've got a new job and their boss sends them out of state and they can't attend the indoctrination where a week prior it was still a go for them. And they can't make it on any of the other dates assigned. So I've seen it across the book, but they're good for the hunt, and so then they lose an opportunity to hunt one of our sheep hunts because they can't make a class. And so those tags then end up in the tag turned in for any reason. It's not reallocated because there's no refund. So because it's after July 15th. So there's got to be something figured out here.
I've got a question. Could we film, record the indoctrination class, and then if we do have one of these situations come up, just require them to come in, and if it's the first day of their hunt, then so be it. But require them to come in and view the tape of the indoctrination class, and then issue the tag at that point, or give them their certificate at that point, and then they'd have to go get their tag, but their season's already started or whatever. Is there something along those lines that we can just keep these hunters from losing their tag?
Sure. If we went to the certificate scenario, then we could put it online, have it on our website, and have the test actually on there, and you could print it out. Other states do that for similar type things. Even getting tags in some states, you have to take a little test, and then you get your tag printed or your license or whatever, things like that for various things. So yeah, it's a possibility for sure.
Okay, so can we make a change to the regulation now, or is that going to be too much that LCB is going to have a problem with it?
I think it depends on exactly how much you want to change and how big of a change you want to make. If it's just one line or so off, and we can get that by.
Is that something Maureen maybe could address?
Would it be a big problem if they change some wording? How much can they get away with LCD?
Maureen, can we change? Can we add?
They fix it afterwards? If they change it to like you need a certificate instead of giving out the tags at the end of the class, we're going to issue a certificate that they carry with them. And here's some wording that I've got, a possibility.
So it would be the change of the certificate, and also that if a person misses the indoctrination class, that they can review it, they can view it online, take the test, and do the test online, and then get their certificate that way. Can we make those kind of changes in this regulation now and get it by LCB?
Let me ask a question. Maureen Hollinger, Department of Wildlife. One of the questions I have is the copy that we have in front of us today with the strikeout language. Was that what was noticed, and is that how it came from LCB, or is that those are notes?
It was all stricken out. 2 through 7 or through 6 are all stricken out on the one we got. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It came from LCB with the strikeouts?
Yeah, that's what we got.
Okay. If you change you can change those strikeouts. So if you want to remove the strikeout and add language in, I think you'll be okay. In that, like if you're dealing with, what is it, section 1, subsection 2?
What you want to change would be in subsection 2, and really you'd leave everything else the same. The only thing you would change is when it gets in subsection 2 there, when it gets down to he or his guide or sub-guide who is licensed by the state must complete instead of attend, must complete an indoctrination course relating to bighorn sheep. And then instead of getting the tag, must be issued upon completion of the course, leave that crossed out, change that to a certificate of completion will be issued and must be carried upon the person while hunting bighorn sheep. So if we made those two changes, that would allow us to put it online and allow us to issue certificates of completion.
Okay, so you don't think we need to actually put in the regulation that the indoctrination can be also taken online?
I think if we just change the wording, right now it says must attend an indoctrination. If we said must complete an indoctrination, and then when it says the tag must be issued upon completion of the course, we just change that to a certificate of completion will be issued and must be carried upon the person while hunting bighorn sheep. That would give us the ability to do that. That's all we'd have to change. We could put it online. I mean, we could do it in person, put it online, whatever works. Who knows? Technology will probably change next year, and there'll be something new.
Okay, so they're going to get their tag no matter what, and then if they don't have a certificate of completion, do we have something in NAC that's going to basically create a violation, or what's the enforcement mechanism to make sure? Because if we don't have an enforcement mechanism, I'm not so sure it's mandatory.
Well, but penalties and things, that's the law enforcement question. Who's our law enforcement?
I guess what I'd like to see is that there's that the certificate of completion will be issued upon the course, and maybe to be submitted to Wildlife Administrative Services to issue to issue the tag or something along those lines. In other words, that the tag not get issued until their certificate of completion is submitted.
Maureen Hollinger, Department of Wildlife. Currently, the way the draw process works, and when the tags are issued, there's programming that sifts those sheep tags to the top so we can extract them, and Wildlife Administrative Services then turns them over to us. So as to Wildlife Administrative Services waiting for the certificate to come in, I think that's a burden for them. As long as the department receives the certificate, maybe that would work. But you want that tag mailed after the proof of the certificate. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
you don't want it to go directly in the mail with all the other tags in the big mail out. You want.
Well, I don't have a problem with that, but I mean, what is going to be the mechanism? You know, if it's a mandatory indoctrination class and they don't get a certificate, what is the mechanism to get the tag back? I mean,
the tags are in the mail prior to the classes, or if it's online, they don't know that they have to take it until they get the results. So there's a timing issue there, first of all. So they may already have their tag in hand and then find out they need to do the course. So I don't know.
I just asked Rob, and he indicated that they could be cited for not following this NAC if we told them that they had to carry it on their person while hunting bighorn sheep. So they could be cited for not following this NAC.
Okay, and so does it fall into some penalty part of the statute? Could you maybe just explain that?
What they would be, for the record, Rob Bonamici, Chief Game Warden, what they would be cited for is under NRS 501-181, which is the Commission's authority to establish NACs. That'd be the NRS they'd be cited under, and then they'd be cited under this particular NAC. And the provision in demerit points is any violation not listed in the NAC that we just went over this morning is automatically 3 demerit points.
Okay, that sounds good to me. That's all we need then. That makes it mandatory and subject to penalty, and so sounds good to me. Okay, well, thank you for that explanation. I just wanted to see that all the way through how it will work if we did it. Okay, that's all I have. Any, Commissioner Ray?
Just to be clear, before we go forward to tomorrow with this, if we're coming up with some language, I'd like to, nail that down today so we can mull over specific language for tomorrow. So if we're talking specific changes, I had under 2 the end as where, let's see, it was who is licensed, third line, who is licensed by the state must strike out a 10, put complete indoctrination course for bighorn sheep. And then last time a little hazy on, the tag holder must complete the course and receive a certificate of completion. Is that where we're at?
Oh, yeah, I thought to replace that little last phrase in that subsection 2, it'd be probably easiest to say a certificate of completion will be issued and must be carried upon the person while hunting bighorn sheep.
Upon completion.
Well, and so what that means is the only thing you'd be crossing out is section 6, which is the thing about the 5-power binoculars, and everything else would not be crossed out except the tag must be issued upon completion of the course. You'd keep that crossed out, and you would just put that last sentence I said, and then the only other thing that would be crossed out would be the word attend and put in complete there.
Upon completion of the course, a certificate of completion will be issued and must be, I'm trying to write this down.
Must be carried
upon the person while hunting bighorn sheep.
I think that under our rules, we generally have to come up with exact language at the workshop. We can't come up with it tomorrow. So that's why we're...
And then if you're going to make the other regulation changes, maybe have this one changed too, if you can do it. I realize we have some logistics here, but
Yeah, and by not crossing out all that other stuff, that leaves the guide, sub-guide possibility in there for them to do it for the hunter. So you just leave all those. Like I say, the only thing you'd cross out is all of number 6, the word attend in subsection 2, the word attend changed to complete, and then that last sentence in subsection 2, you'd leave that crossed out and replace it with the new wording. And that's it for that part. And still allows the guides and sub-guides to attend for a hunter. I think non-residents use that quite often, so they don't have to make it all the way over here for it.
Hopefully I'm not... I just wanted to bring up one point, which is if we make it more accessible to everyone, do we still want the sub-guides and the guides to take care of their clients and shelter them from the information that they may receive during the indoctrination?
Anybody in the Christian want to comment about that? Hold on a second. Hold on. I'm still at the commission. I've talked to our DAG, and I am going to take this back out to public comment because we've made so many changes rather than deal with any public comment tomorrow when we're going to be doing the regulations. So I am going to take it back out to public comment. So everybody just hold your... hold on. Yeah, we're going to have it tomorrow as well. I'm not saying we're not doing it tomorrow, but if somebody has an issue with all the changes that are being made and sees a problem with what we're doing, more heads that look at this issue are probably good. So I am going to take back up public comment. So anybody on the commission with regard to the issue is should we eliminate guides from being able to take the indoctrination course for their hunter? Commissioner Rain.
There is some language in there about attend another indoctrination course, attend. So, in the guide language, and so it would be complete as opposed to attend. We'd have some issues there we might have to deal with. So we're talking complete it up above, and then we're talking about they have to attend it and complete it. It'd be easier just to scratch it and make one requirement. Just throwing that out, and rather than trying to deal with that, the other verbiage.
Chair?
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman?
The way I read this, if the guide or sub-guide has attended the indoctrination after 1998, he's good to go? Is that the way that is? And the other thing is they seem to be worried about physically having the tag in hand to the guy after the indoctrination. Why not just email it to him?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think we have a problem for this year and subsequent years, because this year there's not a guide that would have the certificate that he would then be able to prove he's been through our course, because now he's got a hunter. So I'm wondering if you need to leave the guide thing in there for this year and then change it next year when guides have actually had an opportunity to take this.
That makes sense. So we can do a cleanup of this next year. Okay. So any other, Mike, Larry, any other comments then? Are we straight then as to what we're going to be doing? Okay. Any other comments from commissioners? Mr. Howell?
You can't just put the caveat in there that that doesn't apply till next year? It doesn't apply this year? That way we don't have to vote on it again.
Become effective date, effective date.
Effective date,
This regulation comes effective date.
I would guess LCB may have a little bit of heartburn of putting a particular date for something that's going to be on the books for multiple years. We part of the process is keeping track of who has and who hasn't. We have that database. We have which guides and which sub-guides and which hunters have taken it since 1998 and 1990. There could be the potential to issue the certificate because they, in the past, after those years, we have records of them attending. And I guess the suggestion was not to start from scratch, throw everything out that's happened in the past, and make everyone come up to speed. It was just for future people who are drawing those tags, have never attended, is the potential to issue those certificates to them. But when a hunter calls us, in the past, the process is he doesn't get a tag. He's scratching his head like, I saw the results. I was successful. Where's my tag? So he calls us up and he says, well, sir, there is an indoctrination you have to take. And they say, oh, well, yeah, I had a California Bighorn tag 10 years ago, and this is my desert tag, so I'm in the list. So then we check the list, and then we say, okay, we'll mail your tag. So then we have to, go through all that rigmarole and mail the tag. We do that 298 times, and so I guess the certificate, I guess we'd somehow have to get around in issuing that to those people who have previously attended, or the guides that we have records that they have previously attended.
Okay, I guess personally I'm thinking that we leave the guide piece alone for now and then come back next year and change it. That might be the place where I'm worried that we're making so many potential changes here that might have an issue with LCD. Okay, any other comments by the commissioners? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take this back out to the public, for comments on the changes that the commission has discussed, that the department has indicated. So, Clint, anybody have any comments? Clint, come on up.
For the record, Clint Bentley. In sitting here listening to this since I talked in the first place, it appears to me that we're trying to create a mountain out of a molehill, and that we're trying to make something more difficult than it already is. The existing program that we have now works very well. It has been an extremely efficient and a great program, and that's why it works, and that's why it's been good. If we start trying to change it and make it more difficult, we're going to lose the benefit that the program has right now. If the department actually needs some assistance on handing out the tags at the end of the program, I'm sure that between NBU and the fraternity, that there is more than ample people that would be more than happy to sit and hand out the tags if they needed the assistance. I can't imagine that is driving this whole program, trying to drive this program away because of having to hand out the tags at the end of the course. I would strongly recommend that instead of trying to change and make it a different program that we have that's already an extremely successful program, that we either leave it alone or we eliminate it and face the changes of the elimination.
Did you? Okay. Paul, come on up.
Paul Harris, fraternity of the Desert Bighorn. I guess, gentlemen, I'm not clear. Is the intent that there's still going to be, who the recipient is going to still show up at Endow for an indoctrination class, but if I had a death in the family, that I can talk to Endow and show up 3 days after the season opens when I was supposed to show up and go down to Endow office and watch a video and still be okay? Is that the intent here? Because I'm a little fuzzy on what you actually decided on.
Okay. I think, and maybe Larry, you can, it may not be them coming actually down to the department's office, but they may put it on the website, and then the person has to take the test, and then they submit the test to get their certificate. And so the class is still mandatory. It just may not be mandatory in the sense of having to personally be there, but they can basically review it on a video online, and then once they answer whatever the question in the test, then they can get their certificate, and now they're clean.
Okay, so is that what your vision of this is, Mike? Is that it's basically an online class now?
You can have vision in
I mean, I'm just trying to.
That's just an option. We're still going to have the indoctrination class.
Okay, so you'd still have the class, but an individual could opt not to show up at the class and just take it all online. Okay. I totally respect, Endow's challenges and the manpower and all that, and I understand there's some issues, and maybe we can figure out something with the tags, the movement of the tags. I agree that's a challenge for Endow, and I agree that a biologist's time is probably better spent. But if this is the case, then it sounds to me like we really are eliminating the mandatory class, that a lot of people probably won't be showing up, and they're just going to go, yeah, I'll do it online. I don't want to be a thorn in the side, but it's a great program, and if there's a way to modify it where it still has the essence of what it is now, that's what we'd be in for. Whether there's a compromise, if this is the compromise, I guess that's it. But
yeah, that's a lot of good points, but I guess handing out the tags at the end of the class isn't a big deal. That's not the problem. Yeah, you can imagine how accountable these tags are and how special they are, and the stress level with keeping track of them, not losing them, shipping them. The other thing we do is we've had some of our indoctrination classes as close to the hunting season as possible, so that we could have some people who could have to fly, go long distances. They can show up, get their tag, go scout, and stay hunting. If we did it a different way, like if we had to mail those tags, even email them, we would have to have all our indoctrinations at least 10 days before the season starts, so we have time to mail. We had a situation where we were going to email or mail somebody a tag, and they said, well, I'm not going back home. I'm going hunting in Montana for the next 3 weeks. I won't be home. I need my tag now. So it's not as simple as it. There's so many scenarios out there. It's not as simple as it looks. It's not just handing out the tag. It's keeping track of them. Like I said, we actually drove a tag across the state because this guy showed up in so-and-so indoctrination, and we had to drive it overnight to get it there in time to hand it to him and stuff like that. So we want to get out of the handling of the tags, processing those tags. So.
Yeah, come on up, Paul.
One last comment. Being on the cab before, I understand when you guys make policy, it has to be something that's enforceable, and for Bonamici and his crew. But if it's an online program, the system can be gamed. Anybody can go online and take that class. So you don't know that it came that Paul Harris actually took that class or Joe Tagholder took that class. Anybody can take that class and say, I'm Tom Smith, I register, and send it to my email. So there's a lot of things to consider with that.
Mike Cox, as a compromise maybe, and I can see where Paul's coming from, that we certainly may have a lot of people just taking online. We only get, five or 10 out of the 300 or so tags that we're approaching that are going to attempt to give us an excuse early on. Maybe somehow, and this is, I've given indoctrination courses directed by the director 10 years ago, a special one that's not even in the book, and we can't do that. And I don't even think that we were allowed to do it, but we did it, and it happened. And maybe somehow we still don't let every Tom, Dick, and Harry take it online, just those people with certain exemptions. I mean, we have, but as you can see, as you try to modify this, there is a lot of sidebars to it, and that would be somehow, in my respect to these other groups, and I do think there's some valuable information those sportsmen are going to get from us. We want to see them in person. We've got our biologists there that they can talk to and get information. It's just that there's these few people that have legitimate issues with attending, and we just don't want them caught up and having us have to deal with all these tags and get them to Elko and get them to Vegas and the following weekend back to Reno. And thanks.
Mr. Chairman, maybe I could offer, we want to get out of the business of dealing with the tags. We'd much rather have Septon send the tags to the recipients. We don't need to, we can maybe forget about this internet thing, let that go. Let's make it mandatory like we currently have. When they come and they show up, they get a certificate. Just like a hunter safety card, they got to carry it in their possession. They don't, they get a ticket.
I was just going to suggest
that way we don't have to drive things across, and we put a lot of stress on people that are not really, that's not their job to be dealing with these very valuable tags. That's really the main reason we made this proposal.
Okay. I like that idea. Come on up.
Jason Peterson speaking on by myself. I agree with you there. I think the one thing everybody needs to realize is if you take a look at the U.S. Boater Safety Program, I lost a $23,000 chaparral to a 16-year-old kid on a personal watercraft because there's a thing called Wiki Answers. If you put this program online within 3 months, every question you have on your test, all I got to do is type in the question, I get the answer, I put it on there. When I pick up that regulation book and I open it up, before I apply for that tag, it tells me I have to do an indoc class. I'm in the United States military. If I apply for that tag and you say the indoc course is this week, and a week prior to that, my commander says, Sergeant Peterson, you're going to Afghanistan, well, looks like I just lost an opportunity to hunt. That's a chance we all take. If I can't make that class that you all say I need in order, because I've never hunted sheep before, I want to. You don't want me going out there hunting sheep by myself without having to take one of these classes. I promise you that. I don't know what I'm doing. But, I mean, you put the information out there that we need, that this is a requirement. If you can't follow the standard, you can't hunt. It's simple as that. I would highly suggest that you guys just take the time and say, you know what, maybe if this is something, if we want to look at another avenue, let's not do it right now. Let's take the time over for next season. Leave it the way it sits right now. Let's have future time to be able to come up with a better plan that we can put in place other than something that has got 1,000 loopholes. That's it.
Yep.
One option that I haven't heard somebody talk about, for the record, Gil Yannick, speaking for myself, would there be the opportunity if some individual were not able to make the posted classes that for a fee, the department could establish another course or a special course, one-on-one, something like we heard might have been done previously, but do it legitimately and establish a fee of $250 or something that's reasonable with the department and try it that way.
One thing we could do is we could put this, have a computer-driven one, so that they would have to come to the NDAL office, check in, sit at one of our computers. I mean, there are some other options that we could, where they had to come to our office and go through the thing to take care of it. But I think that's, like Mike said, 5 or 10 people really have difficulty. We just rather get the tags in people's hands and then make it mandatory. They come to our thing, they get the certificate. We start building the database. I guess we could go back and issue all the people that had gone through it before a card in the mail. Here it is. You get drawn for another sheep. You don't have to come, or the guides wouldn't have to pull them through another knothole. So, anyway.
Commissioner McFinch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What opportunities are there for somebody that has a sheep tag? They can't make an indoctrination class. To return that tag, reinstate their bonus points. It gives them options. It's not very palatable. I mean, they're in a tough spot if, Sergeant Peters gets sent to Afghanistan, but, I mean, they go back into the draw the next go-around. I mean, will lightning strike twice for them? That's, tough decisions for them. But
Maureen Hollinger, Department of Wildlife, currently under regulation in the any reason which that would fall under. They have to have it turned in by July 15th, which is before all those indoctrinations.
how difficult would it be to modify that? Okay. Yeah, I was being a little sarcastic.
Dr. Dixon.
For the record, Paul Dixon speaking for himself. I want to say, I'd like to echo, I think Director Mayer took the two big things I wanted to say. One is that just stay with where we are, but if you want to go to something online, there are ways to do that secure. There are ways to set it up where you do it in the NDO office, is what I was going to suggest. You just said that. We have to do that. I do know that if you don't do something like that, take something as common as the SATs that are taken right now, they refuse to do that, and cheating and gaming that system is huge. And if we really want people to do things, I think that people should have the one-on-one personal thing, and it should be the rare exception that somebody needs to take it where it's online or other things, because the experience you get sitting in a class and being with instructors is very much different than you're going to get at a computer. I realize that people under 30 probably think different than us over 50, but for right now, for those of us, you have to be over 50 in most cases to draw a sheep tag. So for us, I think it's important for the one-on-one. Thank you.
Larry?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I guess in our experience, I'd point to our antelope indoctrination, and it's voluntary, and it got bigger and bigger until we had to find bigger and bigger venues, and it's real popular. And really, I think the majority of the people want to go to these things. All the people that have gotten up today talked about how good they are, and it's an opportunity to talk with biologists, although we can't have all our biologists for every area at all of these. No way, not even close. So there's often a biologist there who's never been in so-and-so area, doesn't have a clue, so all we can do is refer them to call them up and talk to the local biologist. So that doesn't solve all the problems. But it does make a chance for people to make connections, and they talk to other hunters, and they learn how to hunt bighorn sheep, and that's all great. And I think the other thing we need to remember is this: if we make it voluntary or whatever, the goal isn't to trick anybody and to try to see if you're good at taking tests. That isn't. We're not going to set it up so that here's a tricky question, we'll fix it so they can't even pass the test. The objective is just to share this information with everybody and get the information out. This is a positive experience. Hopefully, it's not something negative that we're worried about people sneaking answers or anything. That's not the deal. We just want to get the information out to people.
Okay. So, any other public comment? I'm going to bring it back to the commission, having heard the public comment. Any commissioners have anything else they want to add? Okay. So I guess that leaves us where we left off, and I guess the commission is going to have to decide tomorrow what they want to do. So be prepared on this regulation to make a decision, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, why don't we go ahead and adjourn for lunch?
Wait. Before you adjourn,